Hello and welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer from Zero to Mastery Academy. So in today's video, I'm going to focus on the section 5, developing your personal brand as a freelance consultant, and make a quick overview of the several sections over the past couple videos a month, right? So the section 1 talks about what are the tasks that a consultant does, which is conduct a research, analyze the data, and then present the results, as well as how consulting success looks like. That you have cash flow based on the ability to provide value to a client, so you earn that, as well as flexibility that these lifestyles give you, and the security, because you can have multiple clients where you can provide your consulting. And when I look at the types of projects, okay, that you can work, you have strategic, where you're going to outline is what are the necessary things to help that business to reach their goal. The improvement, you're going to define is a certain roadmap based on their specifically or critical business operations, and the implementation. So based on your strategic and improvement recommendations and roadmap, now it is time to put that at practice. So I also look at the foundation and how to earn the most for your expertise, advice, and knowledge. And it is all about focus on something that is already on demand before craft an offer, and then solely focus on over delivering value to the client, because no one is obligated to hire you, and it's your job and your job alone to hone into that specific niche and develop a rockstar solid offer backed by your reputation. And when it comes to be productive and how to do that, well, there are several ways that you can do. So for example, or several tips that you can do. First, eliminate distractions. And also, before going dive to this, is to put that at practice. Okay, so some consultation tips to improve your productivity. Well, first, eliminate distractions. Find a way to get you into the zone, as well as blocking distracting sites. Use Pomodoro techniques that help you to focus your attention. Don't do multitasking. And don't forget to take breaks, which is something very, very crucial. And when it comes to the decision making, to use the Eisenhower matrix to do that. Things that are important and urgent, do that today, period. Things that are important but not urgent, schedule. Things that are urgent but not important, delegate. And ultimately, if that is not important and urgent, don't even think about it. Okay, so then on the section 2, okay, so once you know is what are the tasks that a consultant does, the type of projects that you can work on, the foundation of consulting success, as well as some tips that help you to improve your productivity and decision making, crucial here. Well, then I look at the getting started as a freelance consultant, which is first, identify your strength and weakness. What are the things that you have experienced, you excel at, or you have interest? And then capitalize on that. And also, but this is down the line, you can tackle your weakness But once you gain some traction as a consultant, so for example, it can be your communication skill, your soft skill, right? Which is something that I'm doing right now, and this is the reason why I'm recording myself, because I know that I need to improve my communication skills, even though that this is something that is good enough, but again, it always can be improved. Move on. So also, I look at the type of consulting project that you can offer, whether it is one-on-one consultation or training and teaching, as well as the specialized service. So right now I'm on the specialized service where you need to be the right gal or guy to solve the client problems. So for example, Upwork allowed me to do that, and I recently find a client that I can focus on that while I receive value from that. Okay, so also it's important to secure your business and protect that, because it's for real, man. It's for real. Protect your business at all costs. I also look at, well, on getting started as a freelance consultant. Your first, you need to understand what is a niche, and a niche is not a group of people. Sorry, and a niche is not a group of keyword. It's a group of people that they have certain characteristics. So they actively looking for a solution. So they have a large problem to solve. First, they actively looking for a solution. They are people that are willing to pay for that solution, and ultimately it must have something that you have interest in. So once you know what is a niche, what once you know what a niche is, or once you know what a niche are, and you will also look at the mistake to avoid when choosing a niche, that you're going to stick with that niche forever, that that you're targeting multiple niches at once, that you're copying other without integrate that genuinely with yourself. Then I look at the platforms and align yourself on a platform. Meaning is, do a reverse engineering process here. It's like how the people that you admire or you want to become, or the industry you want to be, do that. And by looking at platforms, so for example, marketing, that it boils down to digital advertising, where inside of that you have uh, something called the web ads, that inside of that niche you have something called pay per click, and there is a platform that allows you to do that, which is uh, Google, right? So Google AdSense. And this is just an example for the marketing. When it comes to the software engineer, well, you have exactly computer science. That computer science you can boil down into software engineer. You also have hardware engineer, but software engineer. And then, if the goal here is to dedicate to the web, you can go to the web and choose a particular platform that is already on demand, whether it's PHP or Ruby. In my case, it was Node, right? So this is my specialty with Node or JavaScript environment. Uh, so okay, so after you know what a niche is or know what a niche are, and you align yourself with an established platform, now it's time to put a practice and create your offer. And your offer is something that must stand out. So no one is obligated to hire you, and the client is not paying for the hours you put in, it's for the value you're providing. Something critical and important. So you can help to simplify your offer by uh, using or creating a value statement. Okay, so in my case, what I can do is, well, I'm a software engineer, so I help small to mid business to speed up their online stores and extensions on Shopify, and that might be that is recently my new value statements, right? So I help small mid business to improve their performance and optimizations on their online store, as well as building app extensions for merchants. That can be a value statement. This is something that actually I am doing. Okay, so once you create your value statement, it is also important to, well, understand the scope of the work and things like deliver or create written deliverables, as well as ask the client how success is going to be measured, which is something that I need to do with the client. How success is going to be measured is something critical by understanding the scope of the work. Okay, so how success is going to be measured, and keep the communication line open. Be huge in communication because you don't want the client start to forget, even though that you're working behind the scenes. So check an email here and there, or a message on Slack or Telegram. So the whole point of this is to be huge in communication with your client, and especially when you create your value statement, once you create an offer. Remember that an offer or a great offer is not only one single offer. In fact, it's a value ladder of offering. So in here, this is when Paul Mendes used this analogy to explain is in the case of the consultation, how you can start with free consultations. First, to understand what's going on with this client, to do some client fact finding about if you can provide the value that the client is looking for and you can solve their problems. If it is, then you can push up the client the value ladder, meaning that you can say, for example, I'm going to make a project account, or yeah, I'm going to make a project audit. Okay, and with that, first, you can put some money in your pockets. You can put some money in your pockets, as well as you then start to develop is a roadmap to help the client meet their needs. So once you do that, all right, then you can push the client up the value ladder by offering perhaps is a monthly package of 10 or 20 or 30 hours. Okay, and this is to dive deep much more into their service while detach yourself from the hours that you put it and focus is on their problems and how to solve them. So once you, for example, already created a relationship with the client, let's say after 6 months or 8 months, you can perhaps push the client up the value ladder and make them a recurring client, which is the holy grail of all business, right? Having recurring clients. So you escape from the clock, you secure this client by providing and solving their problems, providing value and solving their problems. And it's also important to, after that, okay, during that process, create something called a service agreement, which first will make you look much more professional, something that is required, okay, and also you can avoid any miscommunication or any problem that can happen down the line. So this section is actually pretty interesting, by the way. This section 2, and again, I summarize the entire course or this model in about 7 minutes. Holy moly. All right. Section 3. Here we talk about is how to find and land high-paying consulting clients. First of all, you need to understand that, especially when you are new to this, uh, you need to first avoid some couple mistakes. That you're focused too much in your portfolio, or that you're running pay ads, because after all, you don't have any clients, and you need to do that organically. So you gain some tractions, and then down the line you can pay for that. And the other is that you're not focusing on your skill. Crucial, because your reputation is what other clients will use to decide if they want to work with you, right? So, place where you can find high paying consulting clients. Right now in 2023, you can find it on Upwork, Freelance, Fiverr, specifically on Upwork, which is designed for this kind of exchange or relationship. Okay, you are a contractor for a particular company. Okay, uh, the other place is in your existing network. This is very very contextual, my friend, because if you live, for example, in Pakistan or India, it will be very very hard. It's not impossible, but it's like your opportunity are bound to your geographic, and that's something that the internet breaks that and now make you competitive, and most of the time, so now you are competing with the entire world, which it can be a disadvantage or not, but it can invite you to improve if you want to. So in your existing network, you can contact past colleagues, or yeah, you can contact past colleagues, or people that are in that particular industry in your area. Okay, and as you do this, it is important to keep track everything in your business with a CRM. In this particular case, HubSpot is something helpful, and I sign up for HubSpot, so it's also free for period or for certain features. And the whole point of this is that you are building business relationship with your clients, and not a one project, and not doing one project once in a blue moon. So the other place where you can find high paying consulting clients, employment side. Even though that this doesn't align 100% with uh, consulting, but it can give you some momentum so you can put your foot in the door, and then down the line you can switch to that, right? So okay, then I look at the finding consulting jobs finding consulting jobs on Upwork, something that I have experienced like that, as well as Upwork consultation projects. In my particular case, I skipped this section because I have experienced that. The other are tips for landing high-paying consulting clients. So check for their review, uh, and also how much they have invested, specifically on Upwork platforms, but also for any other platform out there, right? It's also important to identify is high-paying clients versus nightmare clients. Okay, and also don't become is a nightmare contractor. So solve their problems, uh, because don't make their problems your problems, or in other words, don't make your problems my problems, basically. So after that, okay, then look at the consulting sell tips to land more additional clients. First, be an active listener. So listen to what the client say, read about their body language. Perhaps the client is not telling you the truth, but the more you're able to do that, the more able you uh, see their body language, you can use all of those fact findings in kind of guide you where the conversation is heading to land that client. Also, use speed as well as use a solution selling process. And this is now entering in the realm of sales. And software engineers are not good at soft skill, not at all, man. So they're brilliant. They're brilliant. But most of the time, they are the lack of it. So with the solution selling process, what it is, this is a methodology developed by Frank Watts in 1976 when he worked at One Laboratories, once one of the largest computer manufacturer in the world. Now that company evaporate. Well, actually, it was acquired by another companies. Uh, the whole point is that Frank Watts developed this solution selling process, and then he presented that later on at Xerox company. And down the line, he created an agency to train and teaching people about it. So the whole point of this is to diagnose the prospect needs or opportunities and then recommending the right product and service to solve their challenge they're having. So this works very well, for example, for business to business operations or business to business sell process where the prospect, the client, uh, or the sell lead needs a tailored solution. Very, very important. And I will gonna make a quick pause here because Alex Ormozzi described that most of the time this software or this SaaS software as a service company don't scale well is because they're focused too much on provide tailored custom service, which is not bad. It's not bad. It can help you at the beginning, but there is a cap. Okay, so what happened is that the more broad you can offer a service, the more reach you will have. Okay, uh, so there are some, again, business is more like an art form, but yeah, that's the Alex Ormozzi opinions. Cool, cool. All right. So this is the solution selling process, as well as add value. So these are the four tips that help you to land high-paying consulting clients, and in my case, help me, man, help me. I'm a living proof of that. So a Shopify developer need a hand with their own uh, Shopify theme app extension. Okay, I didn't know about Shopify, not at all. However, I have 5 years of experience as a software developer, and even though I tell the client, right, that when I had the first meeting, I tell the client, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to develop a roadmap that help me to gain the bigger picture, roughly speaking, of Shopify in 2 days. And I would like to have a next meeting with you for that aspect. Okay, so the client say, okay, great, cool. I did that. I also record my document, my process, and then on the next meeting, I explain the client about the high level concepts of Shopify, right? That you have themes, you have apps, or app extensions, as well as storefront. And in particularly, for their case, is the app. All right, cool. So the client see the value that I add, even though that he didn't pay for me. So I add free value to the exchange, and the client say, "Hey, you know what? Okay, cool. I would like to set at least 15 hours weekly for that. Okay, to see how you go, how you're gonna work, what is the thing that you're gonna do, and so on and so forth." So even though that I tell the client with 10 hours will be enough, the client negotiate that to 50. But the client even provide me value as well, you know? So this is the beauty, the beautiful thing of this kind of concepts, that once you apply that and you get the results, you say, okay, first I got lucky. I must admit that I got lucky. And then because it worked, it's like, okay, makes sense. So in any case, and to recap this, consultation tips that help you to land, that help you to find and land high-paying consulting clients. First, be an active listener. Use speed. Use solution selling process, and especially here, by applying the Frank Watt methodology, is first do the prospect journey. See what are the clients out there, are those that you want to work with. Okay, uh, if they're good with you, or do you want to work with them? If it is, well, start to reach out to them, start to get in front to get their attention, and then now you qualify them. So based on this huge list of prospect, now you decide which one of them are a good fit for you. And this is all about asking the right question to see what are the client expectations are and the client needs. Once you do that, it is time to do this demo and discovery call that will allow you to, well, do even more fact findings about them and decide ultimately if they want to work with you, or is this going to end right there so I can move on into the next project. The other is the once you agree to work with the client, the client say, "Hey, all right, send me more information about it." This is when you now send the proposal and add free value. And this is the series of steps in the solution selling process that I actually apply. Okay, so then after you know that, it's also important to know how to handle client payments. Very, very important, because most of the time freelancers fails to secure that, and that leads them to run out of business. So first, get the service agreement signed, especially if you're not going to rely on online platforms out there, okay, like Upwork or Freelance or Fiverr. Get the service agreement signed, secure the payment methods, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, monthly, and then is when you're starting to provide your service. So one of the things that Upwork allows is by this hourly tracking is that it does speed up the gap between the service agreement and securing the payment methods to the delivering value or starting to offering your consultation. It reduces the gap for that. Especially this is good for newcomers and new consultants. All right. Enforce them to be productive, or not, or you run out of business. Welcome to the game. I didn't invent the rules. So secure the client payments. Okay. So secure the client payment, and then you can look at different websites that you can offer your service. Pues websites like or online platforms like Freelancer, Upwork, and Fiverr, or you can send personal invoice like Soho Book, something that I'm gonna do that. Soho Book, as well as the uh, PayPal or QuickBook, which is another accounting software, an online accounting software, is a competitor of Soho Book. So uh, QuickBook and Soho Books are competitors in the online accounting software. And remember that once you know how to send a proposal, so once you know how to find and line high paying consulting clients, you know how to send a service agreement, you get the service agreement signed, you started to gain some traction, you secure the payment methods, you started to gain some tractions. Remember that the ultimate goal of business is to scale to multiple clients, right? Because that will give you not only security, but also the way that you can do that is by focus on providing a top quality product. For example, and that may be a little bit off this example. So football players, they focus on doing one thing well and they get paid vastly for that. All right. So focus on the execution. That's the moral of this. That is the moral story. Okay. Okay. And also, well, it's important to remember that, especially when you are when you want to scale your business, uh, keep track every interaction that you're having with your client, as well as be creative to stand up and remember to repeat this process. Getting business leads, show them value, build your reputation, and repeat. Right? This is the cycle here. So on the section 4, and here I'm going to move on much more faster. So on how to conduct a proper research as a freelance consulting, first it's important to understand that data is something powerful. So especially when you're conducting a research like that, well, recognize that uh, yeah, recognize that uh, especially if you're conducting a research for a consulting project, first is identify the source of data. First party data, data that come from the company, the most valuable. Second party data, data that come from trust sources and aggregate sources. The least valuable because you can verify is the quality of the authors, that kind of thing. And then is when you're going to start to make the research. How you do that? Well, see things from different perspective. Play devil advocate with yourself because things are not black and white. Second, gather as much relevant data as possible. And this is something very, very uh, important uh, because when you're conducting a research, the entire the entire research leads you to different areas that might be interesting, but provide little value to the research. So, again, gather relevant data as much as possible. Then you take notes and keep records of every source you obtain. You evaluate the quality of the data, and don't forget to circle back with the client or with yourself if you're conducting a research for yourself. And this is the core of the task that a consultant does when it comes to conduct a research and analyze the data and then present the results. So when it comes to present the results, it is important to create a visually engaging presentations because the client wants to know, hey, how you came out with that conclusion. And by showing them with different aesthetics, charts, and statistics, the meaningful pattern, the client can decide if they want to work with you or not. And it's also important to not be just another consultant that just do the bare minimum to get by. All right? Okay. So, especially when you're conducting or you are creating these visually engaging presentations, first, you must know exactly what you're going to put in there. Okay? Second, put the most relevant data first because you don't want the client start to forget what the most important thing was, and no one wants to sit at a presentation to figuring out at the end about all the good stuff. So put the most relevant data first and then expand that with different aesthetics and statistics that if you are creating that recurrently for a client, it is better to have some templates and use graph and visualizations. So several visualizations that you can use are like, well, the bar chart, pie charts, which are great for time series relationships. Also line charts. So bar charts and pie charts are great when you want to compare part to a whole, or when you want to see change over time. Line graph are great for data visualization, such as trend, accelerations, decelerations, and volatility. Area area chart, which is a combo of these line charts, what you can now see is, or you can represent is volumes, as well as scatter plot when you want to see correlations of data. A bubble chart, which is a combo mix between the area chart and scatter plot, useful to see correlation of data, ranking or nominal data, as well as heat map when you want to see is the intensity of, when you want to see data using intensity of color represent on a map or on a table. So for example, how much state or how many states are exporting oil in the US, all right? Or how many cities are exporting oil in the US, all right? So you can use heat maps to represent that. Also, it's important to, or another graph is the another graph is geomaps, where you can see distribution of data on a map. So for example, how many retails a particular brand has. Also the waterfall when you want to see change over time, or improvement over time. as well as table when you want to see or when you want to compare represent sales representative, for example, or where our blocks you are coming from, as well as picture graph using statistic with icons, or for you to for using or for use a statistic with icons. So with that, I also look at the different tools that you can use to leverage your report, right? Such as Microsoft Excel or Statista, Google Trends, Canvas that allow you to generate this report. And when it comes to data visualization, first, make it readable. Also, uh, use benchmark to compare with data. See how others are formulating data. And now when it comes to describe that or to communicate, right? These communication tips for consultants. First, show that you understand the goal. Avoid any miscommunications. And if you have to rely on industry jargons, break down complex topics. All right. For example, people that don't hold a background on that, well, it is important to make it easy for them to digest. So, also, when it comes to these communication tips, be transparent with the client. Identifying also is their working needs. So, for example, the client prefer to communicate over email rather than video presentations. Okay, which is something good, valuable as well. Remember to be a team player with them. And when it comes to build recurring clients, use the A/B testing. Okay, so this A/B testing, okay, as a consultant, is something crucial and important. All right, and this is something that even the user research actually do that. And it's all about you have A, the control, and B, the treatment. Where you have on the A is the normal version of the current version of that, whereas on B you have is the treatment or your expected optimized version. Let's say you're modifying is a particular color or elements on a landing page, then you want is to improve or see how impact, see how measure the impact on user conversion or user retention. Okay, so there are several ways that you can do, but following this best practice will help you to give much more sense and avoid some mistakes or headache down the line. So first, before doing the test, decide on how significant it is to do that. Also, test one variable and do one test. Okay? And when it comes to make change, do that as small as possible. So make minor change. Whether you want to change, for example, a paragraph on an email marketing or a color on a specific product sections to see how is the impact, do that. All right. Test that simultaneously and split your test 50-50. So you have random samples and much more measured about it. So with that, okay, that'll be all for this video, which is a huge overview of the entire course of consulting on how to become a consulting freelancer. And now it's time to put that in practice. Okay, so take care. Bye bye.